Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com, and this is the Palm Pixi for Sprint. It's our 5-minute review. We're trying something new with some of these new smartphones where there's so many features, so many things they do, so many things that different people want to know about. We're going to break it out for selected devices into multi-part reviews. So in addition to the 5-minute review, which is what I'm doing right now, and the unboxing, which Adriana already did, we're also going to have individual videos covering different parts of the phone. The hardware, the operating system, the web browser, the email, the phone as a phone, all those different things. So you can watch as much or as little as you want. If you just want, the quick what do we think about it, that's what this is right here. So before we get to it, real quick thanks to the folks at Best Buy Mobile, our new friends, you might know them. They sent over 2 Palm Pixis for review, which we're going to give away on the site after the reviews are done, so stick around for that on the One Pod Bandit. And one of the things about buying a phone at Best Buy Mobile is their staff, they're trained, they're impartial, they don't work on commission. So that means they don't get a commission every time they sell a phone, so there's no pressure to buy. You go in, you can ask them questions. Since Best Buy Mobile carries phones from the different carriers, different manufacturers, their whole job is to give you impartial, informed advice, let you make your own decisions. So Best Buy Mobile, check them out. We thank them for the review devices. Enough of that, though. The Palm Pixi. What do I think about it? In a word, I wish you could take the guts of the Pre and shove them into the body of the Pixi. Because I'll tell you what, I love the form factor of the Palm Pixi. It's thin, it's light, it fits in my hand. The keyboard is much better than the keyboard on the Pre. It feels good. Did I say it's light? It's incredibly light. It fits in a pocket really easily. Even though the screen is small, the capacitive touchscreen works great, but it's a little pokey and it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So that's kind of a drag. Let's get into it. 5 minutes. I guess we only have about 3.5 left with the Palm Pixi for Sprint. All right, so here's the Pixi, and like I said, I absolutely love the form factor on this phone. Palm's strategy has been a little bit, I can't say it's their strategy that's been curious, because who knows what goes on behind the scenes. I think the fact that the WebOS devices have only been on Sprint, at least in the US, and they were only on Sprint in the US for a while, has hampered them, just because Sprint's, the number 3 carrier, they're not one of the big 2. And so, WebOS is a brand new platform, and I would have liked to have seen, what would happen if WebOS had come out on AT&T or Verizon, where there's a huge subscriber base to potentially adopt this thing. So we'll have to see in, next year, just a month or so away, if Verizon and or AT&T pick up either of these WebOS devices, or maybe there'll be a new one coming out. Who knows? That all being said, the first thing, like I said, about the Pre is when I picked it up, it's amazingly light, but it feels good in the hand. It's smaller, it's kind of that old Trio size to some extent, more than the iPhones and Droids of the world. It's smaller, it's very lightweight, it's plasticky, but it doesn't feel cheap. The Pre, to me, I had some issues with its build quality. This phone doesn't feel luxurious, but it feels solid. The matte black on the back, and then the glossy finish on front look nice. It doesn't have a button like the Pre, but instead you got this little LED light that it's a little gesture area, and it lights up when you swipe over it. I think that's really nice. I like that better than the LED button on the Pre. And then you can tap on the LED area when you want to get back to your home content. There you go. I was double tapping. I was only supposed to single tap. Sorry about that. So it functions like the home button on the Pre, but it's kind of stealthier looking. I think it's really cool. It's got that like Michael Knight kit action going on there. Kind of neat. The keyboard, like I said, to me, much more usable than the Pre keyboard for 2 reasons. One is that the keyboard face itself isn't recessed at all. The Pre being a slider, you slide it open and then you've got your keyboard kind of lower, and then it was kind of a little bit lower set even on that tray itself. But the bigger reason is the key action on the Pixi is just much better. It's kind of a chiclet. I've heard described as Rice Krispies. It's got like a crisp chiclet action to it, and it just really is a lot easier to type on, I think, than the Pre was. The buttons are small, but they're kind of skinny and long. They're domed, good separation between the buttons, and all in all, I've found this device much easier to type on than the Pre. Some of the people who read my review or watched the review of the Pre initially were like, "Dude, you're crazy. The Pre's fine." So keyboard is a very personal thing, but the keyboard makes a big difference for me. WebOS was designed to scale to different screen resolutions, so even though there's a relatively small, I think it's 2.63-inch screen, WebOS looks great on it, and you could pretty easily zoom in and out of things because it is multi-touch. So we'll go to the Peanuts website here, check out what Charlie Brown's up to today, and it's multi-touch with double tap and pinch to zoom, depending on in applications that support it, like the web browser. So you can get in and out pretty quickly, and that makes it, a very small device that's still very usable. You'll notice it's Sprint, EVDO, Rev-A, EVDO, but no Wi-Fi. So that's a strike against it in this day and age. I know it's listed for $99 on contract through Sprint. You can get it cheaper now through Amazon and some other places. But Verizon Droid Aeris, the Android phone, that's $99 also. That has Wi-Fi. So too bad there's no Wi-Fi on here. That being said, when you're in EVDO coverage, Sprint's network works really well. You can see, though, it's still kind of loading up a little bit slower, and so the phone kind of lagged a little. That's the other thing with this phone. The processor is slower than the Pre, and so you do suffer from lag sometimes. Once you're loaded up, so my page is loaded up here, I can, I can pinch to zoom and move around, and I can double tap, and everything works well. Double tap in and out, etc., etc. But when I go to launch, another card, so I'll launch the phone card here, and then let's get the launcher happening, and we'll launch Amazon MP3. And so you can see there a lag in Amazon MP3 loading up. It's still loading, 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 it's load, it's still loading, 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 it's still loading. You get the idea, right? It takes a while, and that's a combination of, this is obviously filling in data from the Amazon catalog, but even before it started filling in the thumbnails and stuff, it took a while for this app to load. And so, that's something that the Pre doesn't suffer from quite as much, but the Pixi definitely does. And so that kind of puts me in a rock and a hard place in terms of recommending this phone. But Palm has targeted, I started to say before when I got sidetracked about talking about their strategy, they've targeted this as a messaging phone that can do more. It's not a hardcore smartphone, but it's like a messaging phone but with smartphone features. And I think that's an apt description. The question is that market big enough for them, especially only on Sprint? For a small messaging phone, this thing kicks butt over all the other small messaging phones out there. As a smartphone, it does it all, and it's cool to have it in a small form factor, and it's one of the few that has true multi-touch support, and WebOS is gorgeous, but it's kind of pokey, doesn't have Wi-Fi. Camera performance is fine, 2 megapixel with LED flash. It's not great, but it's fine. You've got dual stereo speakers. You've got a USB port hidden underneath here. You've got 8 gigs of internal memory, no micro SD card slot, rocker switch, a hard switch for muting the phone, silence on and off. You've got a standard headphone jack in the top, and then a power lock switch that's a little bit tricky to use, not the best ergonomic design, but it's fine, not a deal breaker. And so there you go. Like I said, we're doing a multi-part review here. I went over 5 minutes, but that's fine because I had to do the intro. We're doing a multi-part review here, so if you want more on the Pixi, we've got written review on the site, but then all the other videos, you can check out the features in depth. But all in all, I would say, if you're not a hardcore multitasker, then you're not going to notice the lag. It's not going to bug you quite as much. But the flip side is WebOS was made for hardcore multitasking, so it's kind of like a catch-22. I'd love to see Palm come out with a device like this. It's just a little bit bigger, a lot faster, and has Wi-Fi for people who don't like the Pre's form factor or want, the keyboard that in the time since the Pre came out, they did some work and made the keyboard much better. So there you go, the quick review. But check out all the in-depth coverage of the Palm Pixi and WebOS on Phonedog.com. Till next time, I'm Noah. Thank you so much for watching. And what's going on with Charlie Brown? Oh yeah, this is the one where Linus's mom got a pool table, and so all the moms are coming over, hanging out to play pool, and they're all into it. But now the backlash is happening because Charlie Brown's getting lame lunches because his mom's so busy playing pool, she doesn't have time to make a good lunch. It's tough, man, the modern world. We'll see you next time.